One and all to another in conversation, and I'm over the moon to say that we've got the former Wakefield Trinity coach and player, Mark Applegarth, joining us. Mark, thank you very much for sparing us your time.
No, thank you for having me. Looking forward to it, mate.
Me too. Rugby League chat. That's what it's all about. It's going to be a great hour. Right, we're gonna settle you in nice and early. This is what we do here on Super League Raw. So, who's your favourite band, Mark?
My favourite band?
Yeah,
Oasis.
Fantastic. Favourite song?
I'd have to go favourite album. Definitely, maybe, but there's a few on there that I like.
Classic. Slide Away is a guilty pleasure of mine on that one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree.
Quality. And the Noel Gallagher unplugged version is outstanding as well. Favourite film?
Favourite film? You know what? I'd have to go Goodfellas, because it was one of the first films that left an impression on me back in the day.
Yeah, I love me gangstery stuff. If you've never read it, there's a book called The Gangster by Lorenzo Carcaterra. Go and read that. You won't be able to put it down if you like a bit of gangster stuff. Right, if a film was made by about Mark Applegarth's life, who would be the lead? Who would be playing you in that film?
Oh, good question. I don't know. I'm going to say someone decent like Brad Pitt or something like that. But if you ask most of us, they'd say probably a troll out at Lord of the Rings or something.
No, mate. I think all the ladies that are watching are seeing the resemblance there, mate. Don't you worry about that. And I don't mean the troll. What three words would best describe you, mate?
Honest, hardworking, and humble.
Fantastic. Right. This is a really serious question. Rare, medium rare, or well done?
No, rare. I like blood still coming out of it.
Good man. What's your TV box set at the moment? What are you and the missus watching?
No, I don't watch TV with my missus. She watches, what's it called? Married at First Sight. Yeah. So I just get out of the house with dog when that's on. I'm watching, just started something called, I want to say it's called Shogun or something. It's like about back in the day with Japanese emperors and all that. So I've just started watching that. That's pretty decent.
Sounds good. Right, let's move to Rugby League. Who is your Rugby League hero? Young Mark Applegarth, watching Rugby League, probably at Wakefield Trinity. Who was your Rugby League hero as a child?
Well, if I stay local, I used to enjoy watching Gary Price play. I thought he was a quality player, champion bloke as well. And then going back to what we were on about before we started recording, I just think I used to love watching that Wigan team back when I was a kid. And, guys like Andy Farrell, grew up just as a teenager. They were obviously in the prime. So it was a great honour to, I think, my third or fourth ever Super League game, play against him. And, guys like that, just for what they achieved in the game, but also the mindsets, they're just absolute monsters, aren't they?
They are indeed, and it would be amiss of us not to have a quick chat about Joe Burgess. A great interview on the BBC this weekend, wasn't
it? Yeah, do you know what? I was in gym over day, and someone linked me, and he was getting hammered for it, and I'm like, but for me, that's what people want to see—a bit of personality, typical Wigan lad talking exactly how you'd expect. It was great to see. I had a good laugh about that, and yeah.
Outstanding stuff. Right, whether it be as a player or as a coach, who's had the biggest influence on you in your Rugby League career? Who's really impacted you?
Oh, well, away from my family, obviously, my family's had a big influence. But I'd say my first coaches at Stanley Rangers, Jez King, Wayne Grice, Keith Later, and Charlie Martin, and that Keith Walker. They taught us what it was like to be aspiring professionals, and we had a really good youth team. A lot of us got picked up into professional clubs, and just real fond memories, not only of the rugby side of it, but just that camaraderie they created and that spirit. And I'd probably say they had a massive impression on not only my rugby, but who I am as a person. And then my first professional coach, Shane McNally, no longer with us, but he definitely taught me how to be a professional in terms of the word. And then I'd probably say John Keir's up there. I had him for about 6-7 years in total in my career. Still speak to him regularly to this day. And JK is he's a legend in the sport, but just a good bloke too. Good morals about him. So I'd probably say them.
Fair play. And those. I mean, obviously, I don't know the amateur boys there that you're talking about, But I mean, for any kids watching this, a man like Mark Applegarth, every professional say it, the impact that those people make at amateur level, and a lot of them are doing it for no money, they're doing it for the love of the game, for nurturing the children. But what they teach you and what the sports gives you in terms of, growing up as well as the sport itself. I mean, it's fantastic to hear you speak about them in that way.
Oh, listen, the game had been nothing without the amateur game, and I think the professional pathway probably needs tweaking a bit, especially around that scholarship age group, because I think we don't do ourselves any favours, with the amount of dropout that we get through that. But I can't speak highly enough of the amateur game as we were coming through. It wasn't just the rugby, it was the togetherness, the team building, building new relationships, them experiences. I remember going to France. We went to Carcassonne with Stanley Rangers under 17s team or 16s, whatever it were. I still remember that to this day. Yeah. Just unbelievable memories that you make with these people. And it's down to, the people you said giving the time up for nothing. And it ain't until you have your own kids and your own life as you get older, you realise what a sacrifice they've made for you.
Absolutely. And for any, coming up to late teens out there playing the game, believe you me, it doesn't do you any harm to be in the rugby league community when you're out and about in the town, because whether you play for the same team or not, there is a camaraderie, isn't there? If you play rugby, 100%. Your face is known and you look after each other, don't you? It doesn't matter if you're in the same team or not. You're rugby lads, aren't you?
Of course you are. It's a big community, and as you said there, there's a certain level of respect that goes out to anyone that's, that steps onto that field, and they'll help you out where they can, for sure.
Absolutely right. Who's the funniest person that you've had in one of your dressing rooms in your career? Who's made you giggle the most?
Oh, there's quite a few. I mean, if I go for one recently, I'd probably say Tom Lynham.
He's off his nut, isn't
he? He gets a lot of flack, but he's just completely out there. People don't know how to take it. I mean, I first came across Tom when I was at York, and he'd signed into York as a 16-year-old who was still at college. And he's not changed. He's been exactly the same. He's actually a really intelligent guy, but of course he's such an eccentric character and obviously out there. People are like, "Who is this guy? I don't know how to take him." But yeah, he's great to have in your changing room. He's a funny bugger, for right.
He is. Him and Mamo as well got on famously when they were at Warrington. They were a right double act. They could have almost been the new Ant and Det. They were that funny. Worst dressed in rugby league. Which one of your players have walked in and you've gone, what on earth have you got on?
Oh, mate, they all. I'd say all of them at the moment. I don't know if that's just a statement more on me, but yeah, they all come in. I used to give Gailey some stick last year, but he classes himself as well dressed. It's just different eras, isn't it? I'm very much one of them. I'll just pick a plain t-shirt, some jeans or whatever, and then I'd come in on if we were like doing a video in casual gear, and all lads would be absolutely ripping me, saying, "What are those shorts you've got on? What are these?" I'm like, bloody, I didn't even think about it when I got out of bed. I just put it on, but it's like Milan Fashion Week, so all them every day after training. So I'd say they're all as bad of each other.
Milan Fashion Week, not in Milan. That's an interesting concept in Wakefield, isn't it? Right, what's your favourite Super League ground to? Probably as a travelling. Obviously, you'll have a in your heart Wakefield. I know that, but in terms of a travelling ground, where was your favourite place to go?
What, as a player or coach?
Both, yeah. Do both if you want.
I think as a player, the old Headingley ground, when you ran out at tunnels and that south stand it was like it were bouncing. That was, even though they're booing you and calling you God knows what, it were an unbelievable atmosphere. And obviously Leeds were the team to beat back then. I think most successful team at that time, and just a great atmosphere to be in. Is that so? As a player, that were really good. I think. Oh, there's a few. I think. OKR's a good ground to coach at. Their fans are so passionate; it's unbelievable, and it's very similar sort of vibe to that old school Headingley one that I was talking about. Because you run out at Craven Park, or the lads run out, and where you sat as a coach is facing that stand where all home support is, and it is absolutely bouncy. Yeah. I think that's probably one of my favourite grounds that I've coached at today, put it that way.
And on and off the field, I mean, I know Wakey are now working on a very similar
Yeah.
thing. We'll get to Wakey later, but as a coach and as somebody who loves the game, very impressive what KR have done, both under Tony Smith, now Willie Peters, on and off the field, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. Listen, I speak to Willie regularly. I'd say weekly. I speak with Willie Peters, and I think what not only he's doing with the coaching setup there, with Brett Delaney and Brett Hodgson and Wardy and that, I think they're doing a cracking job. But above them, I know they've appointed the football manager now, and that board of directors. Where that club's going, if it goes in the direction that everyone's saying, I think they're going to be there to stay because they're on that verge now of breaking into that big four and creating a few shockwaves, and I think they'll do it. I genuinely think they will.
It'll be tasty. Second semi-final in a row against Wigan. That's going to be a tasty one when that
Yeah,
one.
what half? Because we're gonna want a vengeance for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have to say, since they put Evans at full back, I mean, Niall Evans, they talk about Lewis, Hickey, Niall Evans, outstanding, absolutely outstanding. He's incredible. The other side, in fact, we weren't planning on doing this, but we're in Hull. We're in Hull all of a sudden. So let's go to the other side. Richie Myler, getting a lot of press this at the moment. Richie Myler. I mean, what we've said at Super League Raw, we wish him well. I mean, you don't want to see anybody not do well in any career that they've given. But Ryan Briley's face on the BBC, where he's trying to keep a straight one, Richie Myler. I mean, yeah, you've got to start somewhere, but this is a huge task for Richie Myler as the first director of rugby. I mean, are you surprised by this one like we are?
I think everyone was. Firstly, you got to say fair play and wish him well. As you said there, you're not going to wish anyone ill for getting a job because ultimately, if you're out of work or you're looking to get your first steps on ladder, you're not going to say no to a job like that, are you? Hull FC's. Hull in general is just rugby mad, isn't it? And as you said, it's a bit of a goldfish bowl in terms of whether your team's doing well or not. And I wish him well. I genuinely do. But I'd be lying to you if I said it didn't surprise me. But you hope he goes well in it. It's a big job, a massive job. In fact, I think Hull's got a lot of problems that need solving. And the director of rugby, in my eyes, the director of rugby is not only in charge of that. That first team branch in signing that, they've got to bring the whole rugby operation together. And I know Hull's got some of the best youngsters about at the moment. Their academies, on verge of producing some real top quality talent, and how they go about, nurturing that talent into the first team and signing the right players with the right values, for what Hull is. It's a massive task because I'll be honest with you, if you'd have asked me when, let's say, Radders and Lasty were at Hull, what is Hull FC? I'd be able to tell you what Hull FC player was. I'd be able to tell you what the traits were, what they were known for. I couldn't tell you that at the moment. I could not tell you, what a Hull FC player or what the Hull FC club is known for at this moment in time. That's just my honest opinion.
Yeah, I mean, from the outside looking into Hull, I lost a bit of respect for Hull when Radders departed. I thought the way that was handled that night was terrible for a man that brought the success that he brought to that club. I thought that wasn't acceptable. I think recruitment's been poor. And you talk about the youth. I mean, Jack Charles has shot onto the arena. I think incredible. I mean, talk about taking a chance with two hands. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes. But Texoy, I said about 3 weeks ago on our weekly show, I didn't see Texoy. I've never seen Texoy as a Super League player. I'm not. And I'm not. And I think Walker's been brilliant. Hopefully he's back this week for him. But Davy Litton, I mean, you look at Davy Litton, I was expecting big things from Litton. For whatever reason, Tony didn't have him in the squad. But you're right, they've got the players. My concern really now for FC is if this doesn't go right, they've got such a great crowd and following. We said this week, and I get your take on this, this seems to be a watershed moment. If they get this wrong, do you see that hindering the relationship fans to club?
Yeah, in a way. I think fans don't mind going through the tough times with your team as long as they know that you're doing something to rectify it.
Yeah.
Now, if you take, I can only use my own experience here, but for example, at Wakefield, we wasn't in the same sort of bracket as Hull FC. You know, we were a smaller club trying to grow. Hull FC are a big club where expectations are there to do well. You know, I'm not saying they expect to win Super League and win the Challenge Cup every year, but they expect to be competing and challenging. You know, there's a big difference, isn't there, in the two. Now, fans, I'm sure fans would stomach a couple of years where these kids were getting blooded and you're signing the right quality players to help nurture these kids, where you're competitive, but you're not quite there. Now, if after 2 years it's gone backwards and they're nowhere near, that's where you'll, as you see now, you know, the fans are getting a bit like, well, what the bloody hell's going on here? And that's where I suppose, you know, Richie's going to come in and hopefully try solve all that. But Hull is it's a big club. You know, traditionally FC over the last 10 years have been the bigger club in Hull. You could say arguably winning the Challenge Cups and that, but I'd say at the moment Hull KR's your bigger club in Hull, which I don't think many disagree with. And FC fans are a proud bunch. They'll want to take that mantle back and show what they're all about.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Big moments, big times these for Hull FC. Right, who's the best player that you have ever seen play the game of rugby league? In your opinion, who in Mark Applegarth's world, the greatest of all time in your world?
Oh, Ellery Hanley's got to be up there. You know, I think anyone just unbelievable. I used to love watching him, and I even love watching highlights now on YouTube with him and things like that. I just thought, what a player. There's been a few. I mean, I'd definitely say he's up there. I used to love watching Brad Fittler play. You know, with that step back in there. I'd probably say them too if I'm going one from each hemisphere. But being a forward too, I used to love watching the Raging Bull, Gordon Tallis too. I used to love that. And when Tez and him got into that scrap on World Cup, I mean, I think any other man, barring Tez, would have been down, wouldn't they? And you can see it in Tallis's face as he clocks him. He's like, it's like hitting a slab of granite, and then he comes and gives him some back. And I was like, what? You know, like when you see that, I was like, wow. But yeah, Gordon Tallis, I used to love watching him play too.
Absolutely. The days of Biff, outstanding stuff. All right, last question before we get into your career. You've got the opportunity of 3 dinner party guests, alive or dead. Who are you inviting and why?
Oh, come on. I don't know, actually. Could be here all day thinking about this one. Right, we'll keep it world of sport so we don't get too deep on other stuff. Michael Jordan's up there. Used to love him as a kid. Michael Jordan, one of the best athletes ever. Who else can we go? I'm trying to not pick rugby league players here. Probably say we'll go David Beckham. We'll go David Beckham.
Sound.
You know, legend at football.
Yeah.
And then we'll go.
It's a glamorous dinner party. You might want to take Brad Pitt with you. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Just mixing with A-list, you know what it is. And yeah, we'll keep A-list with Tom Brady. I'll probably go them three. Just I'd like to pick the brains on.
Yeah.
You know, they're all top of the game or was top of the game, and just you know, I think it'd be interesting to pick what traits they've got and things. You know,
fair play. Fair play. Yeah. Be a good combo. It'd be a good combo, especially in terms of mentality and sport mentality and winning.
That's it.
One of my favourite quotes was Jordan, always turn a negative situation into a positive situation. That was a great quote from Jordan. He said that back in the day.
Yeah.
Right. Mark Applegarth, born in Wakefield, I believe 10th of December 1984 is where research is at. And it's on the screen. First question, MASH. Where did that come from? Where's MASH come from?
Well, if anyone asks me, I tell them because it's used to mash. I used to mash people when I played, and then they actually see clips of me playing and go, "That is bullshit," and I'm like, "That is correct." Now, how it came about when I was 16, I used to go into first team training 2-3 days a week, and I used to go do my A levels 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And Adrian Vowles were there. Do you remember Vowles here?
I do. Yeah.
Cracking player, cracking bloke as well, but. he's got a real dry sense of humour, and I'd started signing shirts. So when you go into first team training, there'd be shirts lined
Yeah,
up,
that's it.
and
Yeah, yeah.
all pros would be signing them. And when you're a young schoolboy apprentice and that, you're not signing them. You're just like, they don't want my signature on. And Val's is like, yeah, come sign these. You're part of the team now. Get them signed. So you put your signature on, and it looked like Mash Appledash. So he'd come over, analyse it, and he'd go, Mash Appledash? Who the bloody hell's he? He's like, who signed this? Mash Appledash? And I'm like, oh, that's me, Valsy. And he's like, Mash Appledash? So I then got called Pebble Dash for a good few months. So that was my first nickname was Pebble Dash. And then they got bored of that and just set up with Mash because it was shorter. So that's how I got my nickname, Mash. And then
Oh,
it's just stuck with me.
fair play, fair play. I didn't brief you before the show. I've got to give you a yellow
Yeah.
card. There was an SH in there.
Oh,
Got to give you a
sorry.
yellow card. It's fine. I'm giving you a yellow card. You're not going yet. You can stick around.
Apologies.
We'll get away with that one. But no, I tell you, I'm relieved though. I thought it was something to do with the Smash advert, and I thought that would have been very unkind if it was something to do with that. So
No.
happy days. Right. So obviously, as a player,
Yeah.
you've already talked about your amateur days, which is great. And then of course you go through the Wakefield Trinity ranks as a Wakefield lad.
Yeah.
And your debut in 2004, I believe, against Widnes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
40 points to 10 win, and somebody actually scores a try on his debut.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
day. Talk us through that as a Wakey lad, making your debut against Widnes, scoring as well. Over to you.
Yeah, well, yeah, I only found out about 3 days before. Shane, my first coach, he told me I was going to be on bench. So I was sat with my dad night before, just a bit nervous as you are, but excited. But my next door neighbour was Neil Kelly, who was the Widnes coach. He used to live next door to my mum and dad, so it were a bit weird actually, because Neil came and knocked on the door. And said, listen, I know I'm coaching against you, but all the best for tomorrow. Make sure you're ready for it because I'm coming for you. Just a bit of
Nice, yeah.
fun. So that were a nice touch of him. But yeah, it's a bit of a blur on the day. I remember sitting there about an hour before kickoff, and Shane just came over to me and just said, "You're starting." So I'm like, "What?" And he went, "Yeah, you were starting all week. I just didn't want to tell you, so you didn't overthink it. So you're starting, and so and so you're on bench." I loved it. Just had some real good pros around me. Made me feel so comfy. Just said, do your job, do basics well. Don't try to do too much, and more than anything, just enjoy yourself. So I went out, did exactly that, put myself about. Uh, probably learned a few lessons. There used to be a prop called Steve. Steve McCormack, big Widnes prop.
Yeah. Steve McCormack, yeah.
And I remember I got shoved up into the front row for 10 minutes because we got an injury and we were going for a scrum and you young and keen and I started raking ball in scrum. And referee, we're Ashley Klein, what referee, and he blew whistle and he's like, Mark, you can't be doing that here, son. And Steve just went, it's all right, sir. If he does that again, I'll take his nose out. And he just looked me dead in the eye. And I didn't want to show fear or anything, but yeah, I was a bit like, what the hell? So I just nodded at him as if to say, yeah, don't worry, I understand. Just pack back down at scrum and then didn't even move my legs. I just get that ball out at scrum so I could break from here. But yeah, I got to try. Colin Alpenny, the fullback, yeah, he could have scored it himself, but he saw me supporting and give me a nice forward pass that referee didn't pick up on, and I was lucky enough to get under the stick. So that I remember that, and yeah,
Good moment for the family as well, I'm sure. And
yeah,
what's really good is that you took Steve's advice, unlike Stefan Ratchford, because he's been hit on the nose a few times in his career, hasn't he? Bless him.
yeah,
Outstanding. But I think that was your only try that year. But you mentioned
yeah,
the pros that you're in. I mean, what a privilege for you to play with the great Gareth Ellis. He was in that team that day. And one of my personal favourites, Dancing David Solomon. I used to love Dancing Dave. I thought, you talk about prop forward with skill. His offload was just glorious, wasn't it?
yeah. I think that year, am I right in saying we were in playoffs, wasn't we? Yeah, we had a really good team. You had Jamie Rooney and Ben Jeffries as your halves
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
But some just real good pros about, and Gaz probably best player that I definitely played with as a whole, and Dave probably the most talented player that I played with. Like you used to get 5 guys wrapping Dave up in training, and you'd be literally clamping him to the floor, and you're like, "There's
Yeah.
no way on earth he's getting an offload out here." Then all of a sudden, you'd see this ball just pop out of nowhere, and you're like, "How?" Just unbelievable player, and what a family man as well.
Yeah, I love watching. I've all, I love the middles. I think the middles
Yeah,
in rugby league don't get. I mean, it's like the Man of Steel. I think the way the Man of Steel is scored is ridiculous. Because I mean, Alex Walmsley, great example, should have been Man of Steel. Should have been Man of Steel at some point in his career for
yeah,
what he's done at St Helens. I think it is favoured too much for the backs. And like I say, Dancing Dave, oh, skills with a rugby ball, incredible.
yeah,
Right, you played most of your professional career at York City Knights. I don't know if
yeah,
it was the Knights at the time. 2 stints there, before and
yeah.
after Australia, of course. Talk a little bit about your time there, but also the current York City Knights. I mean, again, from the outside looking in, they're getting a lot right, aren't they? The stadium, the women's team, obviously doing brilliantly well. A lot of ambition at that club. Talk to us about York City. What's your impressions of them now and at the time that you played for them?
Yeah, well, if I'm being completely honest with myself, that was probably my level as a player. I would say I look back with regrets in times of my time in Super League, but I definitely took it for granted when I was there. And um, you can't play at that level unless you're fully living your life how you should and
Yeah.
committed to it. And I love my time at York. It's a very affluent city is York.
Yeah.
They've got a passionate base there.
I can see
I
you in
think,
Harrogate in Betty's tea room with your pinky out. I
oh
don't
no,
know
I
why.
won't go. Yeah, they can't understand me. It's like I'm speaking a foreign language, isn't it? If I go there with this Wakefield accent, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Ask for a
I
cucumber
think,
sandwich and they come back with Philadelphia. Carry on.
yeah, exactly. But no, yeah, when I were at York, it were a different club completely. It's grown now. I think what Clint's doing there, Lindsay's obviously done a cracking job with that ladies team. I think the team to beat, aren't they, in the women's league?
Yeah.
Um, and I definitely think, given time, they could grow into a Super League club. I don't think they're ready to go next year. My own personal thought.
Yeah.
I think they need to make sure they have a thriving youth pathway first. If you look at, this is what I used to say at Wakefield, if you look at the last 20, 25 years, what is every team that's won Super League got in common? They've got thriving youth pathways and they
Yeah.
base the team around them homegrown products and then complement them youth players with genuine star overseas players and solid home seasoned UK players. But
Yeah.
I think if York do it right, let it grow organically over the next few years, carry on getting that investment in, get a bit of success on the field, in the championship. They'll be prime contenders, will they, to have a
Yeah.
go in Super League?
Absolutely. The blueprint for that Wigan. I mean, as a middle yourself,
Yeah.
Harvey Hill, Junior and Sember, they're exciting products, aren't they? They've got a big future ahead of them too.
Yeah, I think the junior December, I remember when I was still reserve coach and academy coach and we played Wigan and you could see it then. You're like, what a player this guy's going to be. But
Yeah.
there's too many to name at
There
a
is.
place like that. And it's not only the players that they're producing, it's how they nurture them into that team. They're not scared of throwing them in. I think Sam's doing that at Warrington. I think Sam Burgess is now
Yeah.
throwing a lot of them kids in. And 9 out of 10 times they'll reward you as long as you've got that first level right.
Yeah.
You can only blood them kids if you've got that solid senior playing group right. If you haven't, it can get a bit messy. But I think Wigan's definitely, and Saints to a certain extent too, are probably gold standard to follow on doing that.
Absolutely, no. Absolutely. You left York to go and explore Australia. Temora
Yeah,
Dragons and the Queensland Comets come to mind here.
yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, an experience for you to go down under and play some rugby league down there. I mean, describe the experience and also it's a different philosophy of rugby league, Australian rugby league to British rugby league. So, do you look back now on that period, not just as a player, but maybe also as a coach in terms of
Yeah.
ideas it gave you? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I'm basically getting a bit fed up over here. I'll be honest with you. My first year at York, when I first left Super League, I were embarrassing how I played. I were on a good contract, for that level. I don't feel that I repaid them. So I'd have gone the year before, but I said to the York chairman at the time, John Guildford, my wages were getting halved or even less. I said, listen, I want to play for you because I'm embarrassed with what I've just served up that year before. So I had a good year at York. I personally won a lot of trophies, but the team had gone well too. And then the year after that, I was kind of a bit, I don't know if this is what I want to do, because I want to go see the world a bit. So my old coach, Shane McNally, were like, do you want to come and play in Queensland Cup? It's a good standard and, end of the day, you'll be in Australia. So I went, yeah, go on then. So I started the year with York and about 3 months in, I just wasn't enjoying it. So York were kind enough to release me and I couldn't sign for the Queensland team until September. So Tamora came in and it's in the middle of nowhere. Alan Rand's at Tomorrow Dragon, absolute champion guy, and he's like, do you want to come and play 10, 12 games out here in Group 9, the country comp? There were me and Greg Eden. Greg Eden had just, he was like at Wakefield Cass Academies, and he wasn't quite, getting in team. So, yeah, we went out and lived in Tamora for 3 months, sheep shearing through the day and playing rugby on an evening. But it was mad. Like the whole town, the population's 8,000, and you play rugby on the ground's got a cricket square in the middle too. So if you landed on that, you're gonna basically either get knocked out or break a bone. But the whole community comes and watches the rugby, and they go hard. They go hard. So you've got lads similar to semi-pro lads over here. They'll go out and do an honest day's graft, but yeah, they don't half play hard in that Group 9. So it will, especially when you're a pommy, they give you it. But I love my time. It suited my style of play. I want a fancy sort of player. I were on the field to make my tackles and and do that donkey work. So others with a bit more talent could do that. So I loved it. After that, I signed for Central Queensland Comets. I had 2 years up there, and yeah, what a place that is to live in. Well, you fly an hour up to Cairns and that, and you can go diving off Barrier Reef and things. Yeah. So I still speak to a lot of lads that I play with to this day. So I absolutely love that. But to answer your question on coaching and that, when you hit Queensland Cup, you got coached to a very high standard. Definitely wasn't far off what I was receiving when I was full time in England, and just the quality of player over there. It's like football at the end of the day in England. I'll give you an example. So Ben Hunt was a Rockhampton lad where I were based, and he were at the Brisbane Broncos at the time. And I think he'd arrived 10 minutes late for training twice. So Brisbane dropped him back down to our team for 3 weeks. Came down, not one word out of place. Best trainer, best player. Just got on with his job. And Brisbane had constantly send you 5 or 6 players to play with. Not one of them moaned. They just got on with the job. But what he did is the model's slightly different over there. It created a real competitive Queensland Cup League. So you'd have, part-time players like myself mixed in with full-time NRL squad members and, some cracking players playing in that league. So I really loved my time there as well.
Superb. And I think, what's also good is the life skills element. Sheep shearing's coming handy, isn't it, mate? You're still doing a bit of sheep shearing now.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think I've got about 4 haircuts left. But yeah, well, man, I think my mum's got a poster somewhere that local press out there came and did an article, and there's basically me holding this sheep, looking like I know what I'm doing, when in reality I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? I ain't got a clue. But yeah, funny story on that. The Rams, they're like bloody horrible to try shear. So I'm watching like these skilled sheep shear, and there's like 5 rams that you've got to do with this herd. And they're like, end of the day, like big bulls, when you go, you see like that. And I'm like, I'm not getting in a pen with that. I said, I'm not going. Because when you go sheep shearing, you basically, all I can describe it to you is you like tackle it onto its back and just start whack. Anyway, this guy goes, I'll show you how to do one. Whacks its legs out, grabs its horns, and then it's going mental. I'm like, it's frothing at mouth. And I'm thinking, if you let go of that, you're dead. But he goes, go on, you go have a go. So I'm like, I can't say no to him here. So I was like, yeah, go on then. Anyway, I get in this pen. about 10 meters by 10 meters, and for 10 minutes they're just on the floor, like laughing, and I'm just running around hiding from this lamb, trying to get away from it, from this ram. And I found out afterwards that what they were doing is they were injecting them before they sheared them, to sedate them slightly. They put me in with this thing that were just trying to kill me for 10 minutes. So yeah, it kept me on my toes for sure.
You're thinking, get me back to that Steve McCormack scrum, will you?
Exactly.
I'll take a knock on the nose any day of the week. Oh man, right? Let's get to last year, 2023 Wakefield. First and foremost, let's look on the bright side of this. Yeah. You've just been appointed the coach of your town team. You must have been over the moon at that point.
Yeah, but listen, it was mad how that came about. So my old role before that, I was head of youth still. I was also reserve team coach and third assistant to Franny Cummins and Willie Poaching. Yeah. Now, without going into all politics of what happened that previous year, Willie and Franny had just been sacked. And then I got the phone call off the board saying, "Can you come in 30 minutes?" And I was like, I'm getting sacked. I'm going to be following them out the door. And I sat in with board, and they just said, "Listen, we've had these meetings with all these different level of stakeholder, and we've released Willie and Franny, but we want to offer you a job. Do you want it?" And that's literally how conversation went. I had about 10 minutes to think about it. Naturally, you're going to say yes. Didn't even talk a salary or anything like that. I just went, yeah, shook her hand, and then I started chatting about what we needed. We'd just lost Dave Fafita, Tia Rona, Tom Johnson, Bill Tupper had just retired, James Batcher had signed at KR.
Big loss.
Oh, there was some massive losses, but when you add it all up on salary cap, I'm thinking we've got, let's say 900 grand, $1 million to spend, roughly, in your head, you're clocking it up thinking, we can sign all these players. And I'll never forget, Michael just went, we've got 200 grand to spend. And I'm like, he could see me trying to do rough maths in my head. I'm like, he's like, no. He says, we need to build that stand, because the clubs had already been told roughly what were happening, with the IMG stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, if we don't get that sorted, it doesn't matter how well we do this year, where we're going to be out of Super League. So that's got to take priority. He says, but what I will say to you is, I'll give you time to sort this out. So I just said, yeah. And then I walked out at boardroom, and they had to call me back in, and Michael's like, do you not want to chat about your salary? I'm like, oh yeah, that'll help.
You just told me you've got 200 grand, I'll have that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take that, please. But no, so we sorted all that, and it were an interesting one. I absolutely loved it, and I know a lot of people are saying I got stitched up, and I listen, I was very clear in what the situation was, and I knew it was going to be a tough year. Now, this is the part you can't come out in the press saying to everyone it's going to be a complete, S-fest for the year, because without getting in, I don't want to badmouth anyone because it's not my style, but you had a lot of players on top end contracts that were probably on the last top end contract, and they knew that, and they were looking for transitions out of the sport. You had some guys on, inflated contracts where they were back ended, so they'd had 1 or 2 years on a certain wage, and then the third year it kicked in. So there were all that side of the squad management to rectify. It's not a player's fault. End of the day, fair play to any player that can get what they can. That's nature of life, isn't it? And we didn't have the biggest squad, and I thought if we can keep his main squad out there, we'll be competitive. But when we started getting a few injuries, and we started having a few gaps highlighted up, it really exposed us. But how the lads went about the business that year, and they fought every single game. I'd say there's 3 or 4 games on hand that I remember where I thought we've given a bit there, and it's a bit embarrassing on our part. Apart from that, I just think we got outclassed. I thought we got outclassed, and I can't knock anyone for how they went about the business. It's just we didn't have enough quality Super League players out on that field at that time to be where we wanted to be, and ultimately the results don't lie, and we finish where we deserve to finish. But it's been a blessing in disguise for Wakefield too. With that new standoff finish now, I think it's a really tidy ground. Matt's coming, and you see financial resource he's got, and the staffing structure there now. I think they'll go on and do some good things. But yeah, if I relate it back to me, it's you're not going to say no to that job. There's 12 jobs ultimately, and great experience for me. And hopefully, it's not the end of my coaching time. And I genuinely don't think I'll have to deal with as much stuff as I've probably dealt with that year again. So what an experience for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's losing Martin early doors. That was a blow on it.
Yeah,
I mean,
there
that was
were
a massive
loads.
blow because I mean, I think had you have had him on the wing all year, that'd have been I mean, on the topic of Martin, we'll come back to. Do you think he'll come back next season?
Lewis Murphy.
Sorry, Lewis Murphy. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll come back?
I still speak to Lewis weekly, and he's just come back from his ACL injury that he obviously picked up, and I think he'll do well over there. Like, one thing Lewis has got, his mindset is ridiculous. He's just such a laser focused individual, and I think I'm right in saying his coach in the New South Wales Cup is Brett Morris.
Right.
So you imagine some knowledge that he'll be dropping on him, and he's definitely a Tom Johnson style flair player. He's got them finishes about him. He's not scared of taking a tough carry, in yardage either. And his defence was getting better every game that he played. And I think he'll want to leave his mark in Australia, before he comes back over to England. But I think he will at some point, yeah, for sure.
I've just got a sneaky. I don't know. I might be completely out here, but I've got a sneaky suspicion if the rumours are true that Megginson's off to Catalan. Won't surprise me if Saints sniffed around Lewis Murphy. Would not surprise me.
Yeah, well, I think there was at one point. I mean, naturally, when you were at Wakefield at that current time, a lot of us players were producing some good players. Now, going back to my first point that I said to you, to keep hold of them players, and offer a proper pathway for them players to achieve what aims they want to achieve in their career, you've got to have that top level right as well.
Yeah.
Now, the hard facts are Wakefield's not won a trophy in 50, 60 years. Now, if you're a player, no matter how much your affinity to that club is, and you want to win things, and a club like Wigan or St Helens or Catalans or a Warrington, them sort of clubs that have got ambition and they're spending that money and they're getting these sort of players, it's an hard thing for them to say no to, because they know that over the next 5 years, there's a good chance that they'll be in the final and, competing for honour. So, there were a lot of, them sort of clubs coming around for a lot of us kids at the time because, they saw potential in them that we did, and they also knew that they could help them fulfil that.
And two players that played under yourself, I know Warrington was sniffing around Whitbread. I thought Whitbread's performance at the Halliwell Jones was incredible, absolutely incredible. He was, I mean, and to be fair, up until the sending off, I thought you were right in the arm wrestling that one as well. I thought you were bang up for it. Like Whitbread was incredible, but your two lads, Whitbread and Tang, that KR's picked off. They're two quality players, them, aren't they? And they're doing brilliantly well for KR.
Yeah, I mean, how good is it to see Kalepi back doing what he does best? He'd had a torrid 18-month, with his injuries and that, and he was a massive blow for us last year, because when you put things in context, Kalepi, he's about 10% of your salary cap, on what you're spending, he's that good a player. He's one of your stars, and, I think one game, I think it was Wigan away, one of them, he ran up field for 30 seconds and I'm like, right, he's back, we can get some minutes into him here and he should be, good to show what he can do week after.
Yeah.
And before I had a drink of water, and before I'd even screwed the lid back on, I'm looking at field and I'm getting buzzed on my radio saying, you need to put a sub on. I'm like, what's going on here? And Kalepi had come off again with his hamstring. Right. And that was just you know, like things like that. When you're in that situation where you can't afford to be getting, you know, injuries and your star players are down, they take the toll on you. But Jai Whitbread, ultimate professional. Again, he picked up that groin injury for us in
Yeah.
that running, you know, and we missed him massively because he does 70, he could do 70, 75 minutes, you know,
And it's both
50.
sides of the ball, Mark, innit? It's not just his
Yeah.
go forward, his defence for a prop is incredible.
Oh, he'll be a great coach when he retires, Jai, because how he goes about the game is unbelievable. But yeah, his work rate's massive, and
Yeah.
yeah, I can't speak enough about how them guys, when they were fit, applied themselves on the field, and they weren't dumb. Some of them players, they knew that, you know, there were guys either learning the trade or not quite at that level at that moment in time, but they did everything they could to, you know, to try keep us
Yeah.
at league. They just, you know, ultimately we just left ourselves far too much to do.
Yeah, I think Tanginoa's got a rate of about 1 try in 3 games, which for a second row's decent. I mean, he's a class player. He's Tanginoa.
Yeah,
Love him. I mean, look, it started off. I was really impressed. Your opening game, Catalan, I was impressed. We were right
yeah,
in that game. You know, you
yeah,
could have won it, and it was a 14-game losing streak, 15 if you include the Challenge Cup.
yeah,
It could have been different. Round 5, Salford lost 14
yeah.
13.
Go,
Could have
yeah,
been different. You get that win, the monkey's off your back. Here we go. It could have got some momentum. And one of the things, and this is why I was very keen to do an interview with you, and you can go and look back. I'm not saying this because you're on the screen. This is fact. Go and
yeah,
have a look on in the sheds. I've told you. Go and have a look at In the Sheds last year for Wakefield. You'll love him. But what impressed me about you, and we were speaking before we did the interview, we were giving great plaudits before the interview. Matt Pete, Mike Eccles, Sam Burgess, Willie Peters, Steve McNamara, coaches who really come across well, very balanced in their approach in the press conferences. And I have to say, mate, I
yeah,
thought throughout that period, your honesty, your humility, and your professionalism shone through. I thought you handled those press conferences really well, but that's possibly a mask. What was that like to be facing the press on that type of losing streak? And as you've already said, you've got to keep positivity in there. How tough is
yeah.
that as a coach?
Yeah, it's not nice. I mean, you know, firstly, thanks for kind words, but you know, going back to what I said to you at the start, what values do you want to say? No, you honest, hardworking, you humble. Like they're what I try to live my life by. So I never, I've never tried being false. You know, like as you probably see now, it's just
Yeah,
who I am is what you saw in them press conferences, and I didn't. It don't sit well with me when I see coaches blaming everything but themselves or the team and not giving credit to opposition where it's due. If you've just been beat by a better team, you know, like I just think it's sour grapes. I think there's nothing wrong in being humble enough to admit that you've just been outclassed.
yeah,
You know, if I'll use that Warrington Saints game on weekend. Warrington were the better team. You know, on the day, Warrington deserved the win. Did Saints play the best? No, but Warrington made them not play the best. You know, you've got to give credit to them for how they went about the business and things like that. And now, if you're sat in a press conference, if that's me, like say with Wakefield at the time, and I'm saying we only lost to Warrington because of X, Y, Z, and I didn't credit Warrington or admit that they're just a better team than us at this moment in time, and we've got a lot of lessons to learn. Then you know, I'm being false, aren't I? So I had no qualms in sitting in front of a press and being honest with them to where you can. You know, you can't come out and say, well, so and so signed for whoever and he's basically giving up, but I've got no choice but to play him because we've got
yeah,
no one else to, you know, you're not going to come out and do that. That's where the professionalism comes in. But,
yeah,
you know, at your clubs with that solid culture, you don't have them sort of players in the first place.
yeah,
You know, that's just not, and that's all the stuff that you're dealing with behind the scenes to eradicate. You know, it's like if you're here, you're here. And
yeah.
if you're not here, at least have the decency to give everyone an honest day's graft when you're here. You know, and that's all that sort of stuff and all the turmoil that you deal with as a coach behind the scenes. So when you come into a press conference, you can speak openly. I don't think I was proud about how everyone went about the business. I thought we lacked some quality in certain areas of the field, and I thought there were a lot of people learning a lot about themselves and how they faced a bit of adversity. You know, anyone can play well when they've got, you know, some star players around them or, you know, quality around. It's like when you ain't got that, are you going to stand up and be counted and turn into one of them star players? And they're all sort of things that you deal with in your head as a professional athlete, isn't it?
Absolutely, and like we were saying, McNamara, I think Mike Eccles has been outstanding at London.
Yeah, yes.
How he's dealing with it is incredible. I think he's got a big future in the game as a coach as well. We've touched on this. Let's go there. Craig Lingard having to do very similar to what you did currently at Castleford.
Yeah.
Is there a part of you now that looks at where Craig Lingard is at the moment and think, what if? Because I genuinely believe, had the standard already been built at Wakefield, do you look at the Castleford project now, whereby you think, well, even with what happened in 2023, you perhaps would have been still seeing the project through if you were guaranteed Super League 2024? Do you think they might have given you the 2024 with the new stand? Had that have been the case?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think if the new ownership hadn't have happened, I think I'd have still been allowed to do the project now. And even with Matt coming in, I think there were a moment in time before he appointed Daryl. Once I'd been chatting to him and he asked me to do budgets for him for next year and how I'd break a cap down and that. I think there were a point, before Daryl came in that he probably were thinking about that, but ultimately, I think the fans were a bit. They needed to get a feel good factor back about them, and that's a big thing. I think he just wanted a brand new start. This is my era. This is what I'm going to do. I'm glad they honoured the Danny Kermond appointment because, Kermo's had been like kind of promised that third assistant role. If me and Longy were there still and things. And you don't want to look back though, do you? I think I'd have done well with it. Especially with the resources that's been made available to Daryl now. But it's all what ifs, isn't it? It's all what ifs, unfortunately.
Yeah, and obviously it's ironic, isn't it, that Daryl Powell lost his job losing to Wakey under you, which is quite ironic. But I mean, I think maybe a month and a half after Daryl left Warrington, the drums started to go Wakefield, behind the scenes and all the rest of it. There was the potential of that. You're still in situ at that point. Be honest, Matt. How are you feeling at that point? You've been given a project. Your hands are tied behind your back. Let's be absolutely honest about this. You're making the best of it as you can. And you're hearing on the grapevine, because we were hearing it, so you must have been hearing it, that Daryl Powell is being potentially lined up to succeed you. Honestly, how's that making you feel as a coach who's in the chair?
Oh, yeah, it's not good. Like, I don't care what anyone says. You hear it, and like, listen, rugby league it's a small game in terms of it's not you hear everything. Like at a club, you hear what's going on at other clubs. All players know each other.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I got phone calls off a few people just giving me an heads up, saying, "Listen, we've heard Daryl's got your job," and this is easily a couple of weeks before that league game still. Easily a couple of weeks before them. So yeah, like if I break it down personally, you're dealing with all that because you're like, I've got a 2-year-old at home here, and I don't know whether I've got a wage coming in next year.
Yeah.
You've got your professional aspirations because you're thinking, I took this job on. It's my first ever Super League job as a head coach. I don't know if I've done my career damage. I suppose time will tell, but I don't know if anyone's going to want to come near me because do they associate you with what's happening at Wakefield and blame you for it? And there's all that side of it going through your head. You're dealing with that feeling, all that jazz. But it is sport, isn't it?
It is.
You learn not to take it personal, and rugby's agents. They've all got the certain players, certain managers. There's all that side of the game too. So you're hearing bits, and you're starting to make sense of. Well, we're getting associated with him and him, he's associated with him. And it don't take long to put 2 and 2 together and work out, what's happening. And then you're just waiting for, to be told and either put out your misery one way or other.
You talk about family there. I've
Yeah,
been hearing you. Yeah, I know that you've given other interviews as well recently. I believe that you're in the job, you're there to be scrutinised as the coach, but it also affects your family, doesn't it? I believe
yeah.
social media and what have you. You live in Wakefield as well. That was a tough time for you and the family, wasn't
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me with social media, I grew up similar to yourself. I've
it? Yeah,
grown up without it, so it's never really. I've never been one to share my life on social media. I accept it's not going anywhere and it's part of life, but I can take what's said about it to me personally with a pinch of salt. You
yeah,
can write what you like about me, and you know, it won't. I won't lose an ounce of sleep. It will more, when you see your wife having to read that stuff about you, or people actually messaging her
yeah,
to get to me, and it's like, well, she's nothing to do with it.
yeah,
Like, can you imagine going into their job? Like,
yeah,
can you imagine me like messaging you about a family member of yours saying, tell
yeah,
so and so they're black? It's just, and these are fully grown adults. This is what I can't, if it's a teenager, I'm not trying to excuse it, but you can kind
yeah,
of think he doesn't know any better. He's going to learn
yeah,
a lesson there. A lot of cases, you've got a married man, father of three, basically absolutely hounding people. And I'm thinking, how have you got time to do this?
yeah,
Or what's going through your head? What's making you such a twisted person that you want to go out and do that to someone? But that's
yeah,
just the modern world, isn't it? And
yeah,
like it's not going anywhere. I don't think it's going to get any better. And as I say, it didn't bother me in terms of that. And I'd say 99% of Wakey fans will bob on with me, and they still are. I'll speak to them regularly when I'm out and about. I go into town a lot, city centre with my daughter. And I'll still stop and have 10 minutes with
yeah,
fans. And a lot of them understood the situation, but it's like anything. You've got that 1% that are amplified through social media that seem to get the sound waves, and
yeah.
unfortunately
No,
that's why people do it. They go for that, that fame as such, don't they?
100%. Yeah, they want the 1 minute and notoriety, and you're right. It is
Yeah.
the minority, and I don't. You probably don't know this, but Paul Wellensley's coming into it. Paul Wellensley's family has been targeted
Did
by
they?
sections of the
Yeah.
St Helens supporters off the back of that Warrington defeat, and I think it's scandal. I mean, we talked about culture. For me, Saints on the field, champion team. Off the field, I think there's almost an arrogance there. Which is fine. I think good teams have an arrogance, but it can tip too far. And that breeds behaviours for me off the field. But when you see supporters, especially a team like St. Helens, 4 championships in a row, a World Club
Yeah.
championship on top of that, as a Rugby League fan, it does stick in my throat a little bit that Paul Wellens, after 1 defeat to Warrington in the Challenge Cup, they don't have a divine right to win it. His family's being targeted this week. I think it's deplorable.
Yeah, listen, especially if it's his family and
Yeah,
things like, because that's personal. Then
yeah,
that's not on at all. I mean, if you go to St Helens, and it's a very interesting period for Saints because they've been that dominant for the last 5 years. It was never going to carry on for the 10 years. It just wasn't going to happen with teams like Wigan and Warrington doing what they're doing, and OKR and Catalan. There were always going to be teams that were going to start to take them. Now, if you look at Saints, they're going to go through a bit of a transition for me now.
yeah,
They've got guys such as Walmsley, Alex Walmsley, and that's just signed another 2 years. They're important that you keep them. That know what it's like for that success. But there's also going to have to be a bit of cap management. Going back to what I said at Wakefield about cap management, Saints are in a completely different predicament. That they're going to have a load of stars that are aging, that are eating up a lot of the cap, and Mike Rushenko is going to have a big job on who do they keep,
yeah,
who do they move on, so they can get new superstars in that are probably a little bit younger to freshen the team up and create that culture. And I think definitely over the next 5 years, Wello and Rushy and that they'll be already thinking about all that sort of stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't think Saints are going to be winning 4 in a row, but you can never write St Helens off. They'll still be competing for trophies. They'll
yeah.
still be competing. I think that last 4 year period up until Wigan did it, they were the best team by far in the league. they was the best team by far. Like, you had to play 10 out of 10 and hope that Saints were off that day to be beating them.
Yeah.
I don't think they're quite there yet, but they're still definitely capable of winning trophies, as they showed against Wigan on Good Friday.
100%. Let's celebrate a little bit of last season, though.
Yeah.
Leeds. I mean, what a way to do
Yeah.
it. Round 15, here come the Leeds Rhinos. I was actually listening to this on BBC. I was listening.
Yeah.
I was making Sunday dinner and I was listening to it and I was willing you on. And when it was over, 24-14, I mean, it's mad, isn't it? Because that was the start of a 4-game in 6. You won 4 in 6. And in that was Wigan as well. I mean, it's mad, isn't it? I mean, you're looking at, here's a team that's gone 14 games, 15 in the Challenge Cup, not won a game. And then bodies came back. Fafita came in, Luke Gale arrived, the likes of Tangino were back.
Josh Griffin.
Yeah, exactly. You were getting some bodies in at this point. 4 wins from 6. First of all, as a coach, getting that W against Leeds of all teams, outstanding. You must have surely had a moment that night where you got your vino out or something and thought, happy days.
You know what? I was buzzing as much for the fans and the lads as I was for myself. Like, as a coach, it's horrible. I'd gone 14 Super League games and 15 if you included cup game.
Yeah.
Without a win. And you're embarrassed. You are, like, your professional pride, your ego, whatever you want to call it, it is dented, and it's dented hard. You're thinking, am I going to be that coach that's going to, that year without a win? And you can say whatever circumstances you want. You play to win, don't you? At the end of the day, you play to put a performance in. And week of that game, we had a few drop out. So that team that we put out against Leeds, I think it's fair to say that most people probably weren't expecting us to win. They'd have gone Wakefield loss again. And lads all week had been chatting about we got to keep on every week without fail. We knew that we had to trump last week's effort, and there were weeks where we were putting in ridiculous effort. And lads were like, it's still not good enough. We got to go again. We got to go again. And I can't fault anyone for how they went about that. And then we started well against Leeds, and same story. First half, we were like, we're in it here. And then Hugo thought he were in WWE, didn't he? Just after half time and suplexed Richie Myler. And fair play to Richie Myler. Richie Myler got straight back up. I think a lot of players had stayed down there. And he wore a red card. There were no dramas on my part there. And I remember looking, going, oh dear, here we go again. Sorry, I've just said a word. And how they hung in there to get that win, like, honestly, it was like we'd won a grand final or something. Just that pressure of getting that all them losses off your back, getting that first win. It was just it was a great feeling, but at the same time, you quickly got brought back down to earth because you knew you still had, a lot to go about. But it was good. It was good to get it, and I thought Rowan were really gracious in being the first team to lose against us that year, and he even sent me a really nice message that evening as well. Because when you're coaching, you don't get a chance to see each other that much after a game because you're getting called to press and that. But the amount of messages that I got off fellow coaches, I won't name them all because I don't want to embarrass them, but it were unbelievable. Both here and in Australia too, and it just shows you that there's a lot of good people in our game too. It's easy to forget with all the, doom and gloom that sells papers. There's a lot of good people out there that wish you well.
Spot on. And, in the same spirit as what you've just said there, I think every neutral's wishing, for London, Mike Eccles to get that W because he deserves it. Again, the way he's handling it, the way he's going about it, the way club's going about it, as a rugby league fan, good people deserve good things to happen to him. And that was a very special day for you and the team against Leeds. Obviously, Wigan as well, 27-26 in a right nail biter. That was absolutely joyous, wasn't it? Brilliant game.
Yeah. I think up until Saints beat them on Good Friday, we were the last team to beat them, wasn't we?
That's right.
So it just shows you the quality they're about now. But we knew Wigan traditionally not like coming to Bellevue. And we'd heard all week that their plan was to basically prove that they like coming here, then stay in changing rooms and have a beer afterwards. Because normally away changing rooms at Bellevue they were embarrassing. You know, you wouldn't even. Well, I can't describe to you. It were like going into a dungeon. They were horrible, and showers afterwards, water trickling out. It was just embarrassing for a professional sports team. And we knew teams didn't like coming there, but you know we'd always done all right against Wigan at home. So it was, yeah, great game. I remember that drop kick from Dags going over, and my back had spasmed up all that week. So I've been walking around like Tin Man all week. And then on video, I must have looked like a right Burke. But yeah, I were at dugouts, and as that drop kick's gone over, I've gone running onto the field, completely forgot about my back. And as I've jumped up to put my fist in there, it's all spasmed up again. So as I've landed, you can kind of like see me land, and it's like someone's just tasered me. And I'm walking on field like this, like thinking I need to get off field here before I start crying. But yeah, unbelievable. And again, Matty took that so graciously. He didn't make any excuses, you know, which shows you class that Wigan's about. You know, they just said better team won on the day, and I think that helped focus them and you know go on and onto that run that they've been on to win the grand final and World Club Challenge and all that. So served its purpose for both of us, didn't it? Probably uh, brought Wigan a new sense of clarity and focus in what they needed their standards to be to achieve what they wanted, and it gave us that hope to try staying league.
And you know, we spoke off air. Let's just do that to give them their due. So Mark was invited by Wigan down to probably Robin Park, I'm presuming. And this was whilst you were still in situ at Wakefield, yeah.
Yeah, so I basically I just
finished.
Our season had just finished, and I were like in a month-long limbo, waiting to be sacked. I were waiting. We were all waiting for the takeover to be finalised. So it was 99.9% done. So basically, Michael, the old chief exec chairman, was saying, for whatever reason, if this breaks down, you're still our man. And Matt had said, no, you know, I'm going to go with Daryl.
Yeah.
So Daryl's already cracking on with the stuff he needs to do.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking I'm out of work here, but I can't officially be sacked in case anything goes behind the scenes. And Matty, you know, I've known Matty since I was 18 years old when we played some Barla rugby together. And he's always said, if you ever want to come over, even when I were in post, he goes, just bob over. So I went over to Wigan. You know, you go through doors at Robin Park, your name's there on the screen, welcome, Mark Applegarth and whatnot. And you know, the culture they've got there is I just can't describe it to you unless you see it. It's just built around a big family. There's no egos, you know, everyone's there is just there to do the job. It's like they can't do enough for you. And it's no accident the success that they've had over, you know, God knows how many years. It's a team that's just bred to not only win, it's just they expect a certain standard of everyone, you know, and that filters down from the top down. You know, they can't do enough for you. You'll chat to any of their players. Just unbelievable club, and I've said it in many an interview. I think for me, Wigan's probably the team to beat at this moment in time, and they're going to take some catching. And unless other clubs have a full 360 review of what their club is and look at what Wigan's done. I'm not saying copy Wigan. What I'm saying is look at how they've created this culture and how people get attracted to that culture and want to be part of it for, you know, years to come. You know, I think they're going to stay at the top, and I think it's for other clubs to catch them up and trump it. You know, instead of waiting for Wigan to start on that downward spiral.
You'd have took a 6-year, 7-year contract, whatever it is, Mr. P.
Yeah, well,
incredible,
it just shows you what, you know, what their ambitions are. And honestly, I think with Matty, Sean O'Loughlin and Tommy Luluai, and then you've got Chris Radlinski above him, you've got Sean Waning as a high performance director. You know, they're all traditional working class lads that call a spade a spade. They'll tell you exactly what they expect. Nice and simple. You know, and they expect everyone to do the job well. And it's not rocket science, is it? It's just a matter of everyone buying into that collective and making sure that they do the job and they show that vulnerability of being part of a team.
Yeah, class outfit. And just for clarity here, because you haven't mentioned this, so Mark goes to meet Matt at Robin Park.
Yeah.
And who's in the welcoming committee? Who else he's asking about Mark when you arrive? Who else did you meet that day?
Well, there's loads, but you've got, I don't know, you've got Sean Loughlin offering to make you cups of coffee. You've got Jai Field telling you more about Wakefield Trinity than I probably knew. He breaking your team down. Just good, honest people. Sean Wayne asking, about you, knowing all that. So it was just, you can just tell it's a club where people care about each other and things like that. So I would just a well-run club, and it definitely opened my eyes up into, what a high performance, high achieving environment should look like.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking off air, and like I said, like Sean Wayne, Chris Stradlinski checking in with you, just checking in with you. How are you? They know you're going through it. That's class, absolute class. You've gone to see your mate, Matt, and everyone in the senior management team of Wigan made a beeline for you and made you feel welcome, and that'll stay with you, and I'm sure meant a lot to you at the time. So well done to Wigan for that. It's outstanding. Obviously, we'll finish in a minute, but Castleford. We have this as the game of the week. We always do a game of the week, a 30-minute deep dive. And that week, Castleford Tigers, Wakefield Trinity, despite what was going on in the other parts of the league, that was our game of the week. We felt that was the game where relegation was probably going to be decided one way or the other. And when you consider you only lost to a point to Leigh, had you have had a bit of a win against Castleford under your belt, perhaps that could have been different. You mentioned Greg Eden. Just very quickly, you played with Greg. What a player Eden's been. His strike rate has been incredible. I mean, what a player Greg Eden's been in his career. And of course, it was Greg Eden that punished you, wasn't it?
Yeah, and listen, quality finisher, and I know he's had a few injury issues over the last couple of years, but when he's out on that field, he's still a quality player now. But going back to that game, the Bellevue one. We knew they were going to come out firing, but we also fancied ourselves that if we could match them for that first 20 minutes and then keep that pressure on them, we felt we could, really get some joy. And we did that. And then we came up with 2 soft tries just before half time. I think one of them were off the scrum, if I remember rightly, and then they scored just after that. And just before going into half time, I think that had a real adverse effect on us. You could see looking around changing room, there were a couple of heads down on. Really, they were probably a difference in season, if I'm honest with you, David. The game at the Jungle, I forgot what it's called now. I think it's the Jungle still.
Menderhose
but the game,
Jungle, the Menderhose,
I think we had 16 try scoring opportunities we created in that first game. I think it was 16-4. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
you're right. You're spot on,
we just wasn't taking his chances in attack. I'm on about basic 5v3s, 4v3s, 3v2s, just not nailing them. And you're like, they're criminal at this level. There's no excuse for it. And ultimately, as head coach, that's on you. So we undid ourselves there. And fair play to Castleford. They took their chance on that game. But we felt learners' lessons from that, and then we can get that win at Bellevue. But, I thought Joe Westerman, Jake and Miller, I thought they were quality on there. And, they really made a massive difference too. I thought Westy's a quality player. Old school loose forward. Got hands of a 6, body that can mix it in middle, and he knows the game inside out. People don't give Westy enough credit for his intelligence. I coached Westy at Wakefield, before he went back, and he's got a real good rugby brain on him, and I thought them two probably were difference in that game at Bellevue too. So, as I said, we got ultimately what we deserved, and we could only blame ourselves for it, really, in terms of we didn't handle what threats we knew they had, and they took the chances very well and deserved the win in the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, after 15 losses, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. And I thought, it showed a lot about yourself and the team. That 4 wins in 6, and like I say, the Castleford game at Bellevue, had you won that, I tell you now, I think Castleford could have been in a lot of trouble. Credit to you for that. Right. not many people will know what you're up to now, so let's just have a quick second on that if we can. So I've seen a lot of coaching stuff on LinkedIn that you're doing. How's life at the moment? What's Mark up to at the minute?
Yeah, just that. So it's been a bit of a slower pace, shall we say, than when you're an head coach. I'd still like to get back into rugby if an opportunity comes. So I've given myself like a window of this year and see if any opportunities come up. And in the meantime, I've set up my own little coaching business. So when I played at York and that, I used to do my personal training. So I've been doing a bit of that on a morning. And I've just started, it's like coaching aspiring professionals or professionals in terms of either reviewing the game. So let's say, you wanted to go through your game clips, just going through a few pointers like that, or actually getting players in, breaking down the skill, and building that back up to hopefully make them better players. And my idea is with that to grow the coaching side of it so that we can hopefully upskill not only players but coaches. And as I said at the start of this interview, if you don't have a thriving community game, you're not going to have a thriving professional game end of. So more that people can give back to that side of it, hopefully we'll get a better product in the long run in Super League overall.
Fantastic. Have you got a website, anything like that people can look at and get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's markapplegarthcoaching.com.
Super. So what I'll do for you, Mark, as well. So on the YouTube webcast of this and on the podcast, I'll actually put Mark's website on there. Go and have a look and see what he's doing. And maybe utilize his services because why wouldn't you? Is what I would say. Why wouldn't you? And I wish you nothing but the best of luck with that. And hopefully, somebody's going to come and pick you up, and you'll be back in the dugout in some sort of coaching capacity in the future. It's been a pleasure. We always end with the same thing. We're not quite done. I'm gonna put this on your toes, so I realise I didn't send you this in advance. This is going to be fun in a minute, especially the way you did the dinner party question. This could take a while, but anyway. But yeah, no, Mark. Honestly, I think you came across brilliantly last year, and in this interview, you've been very open. You've been very honest. I love that. I think that's how it should be. We've got a lot of coaches doing the same thing at the moment. It's been an absolute pleasure. I could talk to you all day, mate. I could talk rugby league with anybody all day. Right. What we do at the end of every conversation, all right, is we ask you for your all-time 1 to 13. Okay. Right. You're going to pick your all-time 1 to 13, and you will be captain. I know that you're going to have what do you call it? You'll have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Based on what you said about your level. And you said that, not me. So where are you going to put yourself? Are you going to be prop, second row, or loose forward? Where are you putting yourself?
No, I'm going to have to put myself prop because, I know my back rowers and loose forwards. Yeah.
Right, good. So you're going to be one of the props and you're captain. Right, who's your fullback?
Yeah, I'll put me now. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go probably say Chris Radlinski, but Paul Wellens is right up there too. There were 2 top fullbacks coming back in my era.
Right. So Chris takes it, does he?
Yeah, I'll go Chris. Yeah,
we're going Radders. Right. Who's on your wings?
Right. You put me on the spot here. I'm gonna go Tom Johnson on one of them. Unbelievable player. His finishing. I think the modern winger too, and how we go about the finishing, he's definitely going to be up there. Yeah. Other one, I want to go for a bit more of a. I'll go. You know what? Put me on the spot. I'm going to go Wendell Saylor to speed this up because he'd complement Tom nicely.
Nice. You talk about Johnson's finishing. I think him and Ashton at the moment, that diving try, they've got it down to an art, haven't they?
Freakish. Yeah. I thought that were an unbelievable. Even how we grounded it, I was like, how. So they'd be my wingers. I think they complement each other well. You've got Tom that can do all the offensive stuff, and you've got Sailor that it's like having another forward in it. But you could, Vainicolo would be up there too. You could have him in that sort of role as well.
Yeah, he was a beast, wasn't it? And if rumours are to be true, Mr. Johnston will be coming back to an arena near you very, very soon. If rumours are true,
if the rumours are true, yeah.
I'm sure, and I think they might just be. Who are the 2 centres?
You know what? Jamie Lyon's got to be in there. He's what a player he was. Jamie Lyon, unbelievable player. And I'm going to go for an English one. I'm going to go Martin Gleeson.
Yeah, good hands, good feet.
I just think they'd be a well, there was a good combo, but I think going back to your team, Warrington, I think he's had a massive influence as well at Warrington. I think he's been great for you. I
Yeah,
think he's
yeah.
great.
I noticed at the weekend that they're not flat. They're coming from deep, and that's very Glees. So yeah, he's doing a great job in the spirit of what Breers did at Wigan when he went to Wigan. I think
Yeah.
Glees has done the same to Warrington. Credit to him.
Yeah.
Right, who's your standoff? Who's your scrum half?
You know what? I'm going to have to go with. I think I'd be doing Mags a disservice if I didn't put Danny Maguire in there. Super League's leading try scorer.
Yeah.
Unbelievable player. When he was at his pomp, especially before his knee injury, he was like he was floating. He were
Yeah.
an unbelievable player, Danny Maggs. So he's got to be in there, and I'd have to go with Longy at 7. A little magician. So I think Sean Long and Danny Maggs, them two would have to go there. I think Longy for me is definitely in my eras anyhow. I think Sean Long's been best scrum half, unbelievable player.
Broke my heart quite a few times. We dropped goals against Warrington. He has very disappointing. But anyway,
Yeah,
you're 8. Who's 10?
yeah, mate. I think 10. You'd have to go with Stuart Fielding in that front row. I think that Bradford team, he were a massive leader in it. You'd have to go Stuart Fielding. You could argue Jim.
We had his best mate on in the last in conversation, Barry Mack.
Yeah. I used to love watching them Leeds Bradford games. When them two went hammer and tong, they were classics, weren't they? But I think Stuart Fielding's a name probably not forgotten about. That's wrong word, but I don't think he's mentioned as much as he used to be. But he was the first real guy I remember anyway. What a specimen he was, and I remember at Bellevue, where the flats are. I remember being in academy when Bradford were at the peak of the powers. I remember just staring at him as he came out to stand for a kickoff receive. And I was like, look at the size of that. He was just an unbelievable, and he'd go for 80 minutes. So, I'd be doing him a disservice if he didn't get anywhere near that.
Fair enough. Stuart Field.
Back row's a tricky one.
No, steady. 9. Got to do 9.
9, yeah, 9.
He did at 9.
There's been so many good hookers, haven't there? Yeah. You know what? Kieran Cunningham were unbelievable. Yeah. Absolutely unbelievable. I think... just trying to think who else I'd probably go. I'd probably have to say Kieran Cunningham because he was just a complete weapon.
Yeah.
He was not only skillful, if you ran at him, you'd get bent in two. Yeah. There were no two ways about it. And he's another that would just go absolute animal on the field. So I'd probably say Kieran Cunningham, yeah.
Yeah, class player. Second row?
Right, this is where I'm having issues here because I want to fit in. You've got Jamie Peacock, you've got Andy Farrell, you've got Gaz Ellis, right?
Right.
But then you've also got your loose forward position where there's a couple of names I want.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Gaz is going to go in just because I played with Gaz and I've seen close-hand just exactly how much of a monster player he was. So he's up there. And I'm going to have to say Andy Farrell because he was my childhood hero. I'd have to say Faz, but if I'd put Jamie Peacock at that other prop instead of me.
Yeah. You got injured in the warm-up, Matt.
Yeah, so he's in there. Yeah, he's in there. But yeah, I'd have to go with them too because unbelievable player.
We had a quiz night. We again, I know you're not too au fait with what we're doing, but I'm sure you'll check it out. We've actually pulled the community together on Monday. We did a first Super League Raw quiz night online Zoom, and they played on the phone. Brilliant it was, absolutely fantastic. Fans from around the game were a part of it. And one of the questions was Dream Team, who's been in the Dream Team, and Jamie Peacock 11 times in 17 seasons. That's just
phenomenal player. He just knew what it took to win, and again, it wasn't just what he did as a player. He were a figurehead of that team. You just knew that if you could subdue Peacock, well, not me, you know what I mean. You knew if a team could subdue Peacock, which you never did, you could get on top of that team. But he was just a proper old school warrior, wasn't he? And just got on. And then I'd go Scully at loose forward. I'd finish with Scully at loose forward. Know Scully really well, champion bloke, but again, I just think what a player he was as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we've done quite a few of these now, and Fowler and Scully have come out very, very well. I mean, two quality. I mean, dare I say it, two of the best English players ever to be produced. Arguably, they'd be in the conversation.
I'd say, yeah.
They'd be in the combo.
I'd say them, and very similar to what we've just talked about, JP. They're just absolute figureheads of the team, and everyone remembers that Good Friday derby, and you've got them too. It's just they were just absolute legends of each team, and they probably set the tone for what a loose forward looked like, over that period that I were definitely active anyhow.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. There was exactly, especially in that number 13 position, going back to my childhood, it was Ellie Hanley and Mike Gregory. Then you've got the Farrells and the Scullys. Then you've got the era of the Loughlands. And then at the moment, I think, you look at that 13 position around. I mean, Ben Curry, dear God, I mean, who'd have thought Ben Curry 13?
Yeah, he's going very well.
He's been incredible. Asiata, class. Elliot Minchella, class. Cameron Smith, class. Morgan Knowles, I think, is having his best season at Saints for the last 3 or 4 years. He's really turned up this year. So that 13 position, we have been blessed, certainly over my lifetime, in terms of the players that wore 13.
Asiata's, for me, anyhow, the best 13 in the comp at this current time. I think he's an unbelievable player. He's such it's just not only he ties up that marker ABC so well, and then when he pings that pass out to Lamb out back, and he's running at that open field, it's so hard to defend. And even when you try, get that pressure from Marker and A to make Asiata pass early, he picks the right option every time. So he'll just hit that short lead and sit your defence down so that he's preserving that space. He's so difficult to play against, and people don't realise how intelligent he is to be able to do them things to sit your defence back. So
he's spending a lot of time in the box with Lamb at the moment as well, which goes, in terms of, like you say, that rugby smarts. He's clearly got big that Lee wrap him up. Really, I think him and Amon are both off contract at the end of the year.
I think they'll have their hands on trying to keep him over in England. I think he's NRL all day long. Yeah, he's a quality player.
They've got a few at League. Mark, this is it, innit? We could just carry on if we wanted to. We could. Yeah. Great conversation with you, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. It really has. I wish you nothing but the best of luck with your new career. Hopefully you get picked up back in one of the Super League clubs, coaching, etc. But yeah, on behalf of everybody who watches this, really appreciate your time. Go well. Best of luck to you, and who knows, we might do another one in the future when you're back in the game.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for having me, and hopefully I've not bored your listeners to death.
No,
but, it's been a pleasure to finally get on, and anytime you do want me, I'd feel privileged to come back and chat to you again.
You're a top man. So yeah, there you go, Mark Applegarth in conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back with another one very, very soon. Bye for now. Cheers, Matt.
Thank you.